range function. It is very important to know this. So range function or range, it is a data type actually. So let me try to explain one by one. So range function represents a sequence of numbers. So it has syntax, like it is very important to know the syntax. So if you know the syntax, then you can work in a good way. So range function has three arguments. So that starts from start as well as stop as well as step. So let me write this in a clear way, you can understand. Like range of, this is the thing which you have to mention whenever you are writing any program. Start as well as stop as well as step. Step is nothing but the increment. So stop is nothing but the where you have to end. Start is nothing but where you have to stop. So this is the syntax of range function. So it is immutable. Range function is immutable. So range function is immutable. So once you define a range function, if you change the values, then the address of that particular value which is changed is got changed. So that is nothing but immutable. So we will discuss this immutable concept in strings so that you can understand this. So just for now, you try to understand range function is immutable. And the other important point is, so always we will consider stop -1 or end -1. So if instead of stop I mentioned here end, I should always take up to end -1. Suppose if I mention here like range of 1 to 10, what it will do? So just try to make this clear. 1, 10. So I have specified only start. This is 1, and this is stop. This is 10, and I didn't specify step actually. Even though I didn't specify step, it will consider as 1 by default. So instead of not specifying that also, it will consider by default value step is 1. So up to now it will print 1 to 9 values, because as I have said, it will always consider, range function will always consider end -1. I have specified 10 here, so 10 -1 is 9. So it will print the values from 10 to 1 to 9. So if I specify 0 here or some 3 here, it will try to print the values from 3 to 10, from 3 to 9. 10 -1, it is 9. So let us try this so that you can understand better way. Let me go to PyCharm. Let me create one directory, day 3, day 4. So in the directory, I will create one Python file, range function. So range function. So let us try to make you clear by this example. Print of range of 10. Suppose if I want to print first 10 values, so I can specify only the starting value. So these are different type of ways where we can define the range function. So before range function, let us try to execute this and make you clear. So it is just printing this way, but I don't want like this. I want it to be printed in a sequence. So I will specify list here. Don't worry, you will understand what is list, what is tuple, what is dictionary, what is set in the coming class. Don't worry. Just for now, just try to understand this. So if I try to execute this, so this range function prints the values from 0 to 9. So always end -1. So that is the reason why you see the output here. It is very important. So similarly, let us try another examples. Print of list of range of, I'm specifying start and stop values here, 5, 10. In this case, it will print 5 to 9 values. It will print 5 to 9 values. Let us try another example. There are a lot more examples. Let us try to make you clear. Print of list of range of 1, 10, 2. So this is the exact syntax which I have discussed here. So range of start, you will specify the start value, stop value, as well as the step value. Step value is nothing but increment. So if you can see here, it will start from 1, it will end to 9. 10 -1, 9. So these are the values, right? But the thing is, you are incrementing 2 values at a time. So it will print 0 to it will skip another value. 0 to, it will skip 3, it will print 4, it will skip 5, it will print 6, it will skip 7, it will print 9, because you are specified the incremental value. So that is the reason it skips 2 values after. Let us try to see. You can see here 1, it has skipped 2 values, it is 3, and skipped 2 values, it is 6, it has skipped 2 values which are there in between, and has printed 9 here. Very, very important to understand this. Similarly, let us try to take another example. Let's try to copy here. So 2 comma 10 comma 2. What it will print? It will print only even numbers. So it will start from 2 and thereafter up to 9 it will print only even values. Let us try to see. 2, 4, 6, 8. It will only print even values. Right? And similarly, let us try to see if I want to print odd values. What is the condition? I can specify from 1. So this is the start value. So if I specify like this, what is the result? If you can see 1, 3, 5, 7, this is odd values. Right, let us try to see one more time. I'm just commenting here just for your understanding. So I have specified them all in the material, don't worry. So print of another example. List of range of, very important, try to listen it carefully. So 10 comma 1 comma minus 1. So if you want to print the values in the reverse way, then you have to specify minus value here, minus of 1. So what it will do, it will try to print all the values in the reverse way. Let us try to see. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because it will not print the last value, because as I have said you before, end minus 1. End means 1. 1 minus 1, 0. Sorry, 1 minus of minus 1, 2. It will only print up to 2 values here. So let us try to see here. Let us try to see another example. Print of list of range of minus 10 comma minus 5. I want to print from minus 10 to minus 5 in the reverse way. Let us try to see. So this is, if I don't specify the step value, it will automatically consider 1 as by default, right? Similarly, another example, print of list of range of. So I will specify the parameters here, minus 10 comma minus 5 comma minus 2. If I specify step value as minus 2, it will try to skip 2 values. Like, let us try to see. Sorry, I have to close this. Yeah, if you can see, it is printing empty value, but it should not be the case. There is some mistake happened. 10 comma minus 5 comma 2. Sorry, it will not print like that. Yeah. So if you can see, it will skip these 2 values, like 10 minus 9 minus 8 minus 7 minus 6 minus 5. So like this, it will skip 2 values. So that is the reason why it will print only up to this. So in this way, you can practice all the functions or all the type of range what we can define in this way. It is very, very important to know before going to discuss about iterative and transfer statements. Now we are going for iterative statements. Yesterday we have discussed about these conditional statements. Today we will be discussing about another kind of statements, iterative statements and transfer statements. So iterative statements. So iterative statements are also called as looping statements. Looping statements. So what are the different type of looping statements we are having? So if you can see, while loop, right, as well as for loop. And before going to discuss all these things, let us try to make you clear why iterative or looping statements are used. So if we want to execute statements multiple times, we go for iterative looping statements. Very important point. So if you want to execute a group of statements multiple times, then you have to go for looping statements. So as I said you before, while loop and for loop are 2 type of looping statements. Let me discuss while loop. Very important. This is very important. In whole Python, you will discuss about while loop and for loop. It is very important. It is like a heart, I can say. So if you can see, if you want to execute a group of statements iteratively until some condition becomes false. Here we specify the condition. In the while loop we specify the condition. So until unless that condition becomes false, then we should go for while loop, right? If you want to execute a group of statements iteratively until some condition is false, then we should go for while loop. You will not understand by this statement. Let me make you clear. So before going to that, let me define you the syntax. So the syntax for the while loop is, so it is having three blocks, like initialization, as well as condition, as well as increment or decrement. Let me make you clear so that you can understand better. Let me take one example so that you can understand better. Let me create one Python file, iterative statements. So let me create while loop. Let me comment this. So let me make you understand, making it clear. So I want to print 1 to 10 numbers in ascending order. In ascending order. So let me make this. So as I have said you before, first initialization. So from 1 to 10, I have to print in ascending order. So I have to initialize any one variable. Suppose let us take I as 1. So what I will do thereafter, I will specify the condition while I less than 10. This is the condition actually. You have to specify semicolon, and thereafter I have to print of I. So this is the statement which I want to print, and the other thing is increment or decrement. So from 1 I have to start it to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 10. So I have to increment like here, I is equal to I plus 1. So once it is completed, I have to do print it is done. So let me make this clear. So what I am doing here, this is the initialization. So this is the condition. This is condition, and this is increment. In this case, I have to print the numbers in the ascending order. So in this case, what I am doing, I am trying to increment one by one value. Increment. So thereafter, once all this loop execution is completed, what I am doing, I am just printing that loop execution is completed. So let us see what is the analysis here. So I am specifying I is equal to 1, right? Good. So what it will do, while condition it has taken I as 1. So I less than 10. It is true. This condition is true. Once it is true, what it will do, it will try to enter this block. It will try to print this statement. And thereafter, what I am doing here, I am just incrementing the I value. So let us try to make it here. So this is 1. In the first step, it is 1. And thereafter, once it is true, it has come to this particular step. It has incremented 2. Then again, it is going here. Like it is true. Now the I is 2 here. So 2 is less than 10. True. It will try to print. Similarly, 2 here. Similarly, it will increment by 1. Similarly, it will come I as 3. Similarly, it will 4. Like this, so on up to 10. So in the 10th condition, it will become false. So that is the reason it will not print anything. Up to 9 only it will print. Let us try to see the same. So if you can see, it has printed up to 9 because 10 is less than 10. It is not true. So that is the reason up to 9 it has printed the steps. So this is nothing but printing the numbers in ascending order using while loop. As I have said you before, you have 3 blocks. Initialization, you will check the condition after initialization, and thereafter you will increment based on your requirement. Similarly, let me try to print the same numbers in the descending order. So in this case, what I will do, I will just specify 10. And similarly, what I will do, I will check the condition is it is greater than or equal to 1 or not. Is this greater than or equal to 1 or not? I will check. Thereafter, what I will do, I will decrement 1 by 1 value. So what it will do, first thing is the 10 will come here. And thereafter, 9 will, see, 10 is come here. 10 greater than or equal to 1. It is true. It will enter into this block. It will try to print 10. And thereafter, it will decrement. So what I am doing here, it will decrement. I'm not incrementing here. I am decrementing. Decrement. So decrement by 1 value. So 9 will come. Again, 9 greater than or equal to 1. True. Similarly, up to 1. And when the 1 is coming here, it will also print, because I am checking whether it is greater than or equal to 1. If any of the condition is true, then it will try to enter in this block. But in this case, if 0 comes, this condition becomes false. 0 greater than or equal to 1, it is false. So it will try to stop the loop execution there. Let us try to see. So if you can see, this is in the ascending order and this is in the descending order. So if you can see, as I have said you before, I want to print the numbers in the descending order, 10, 9, 8, like this. Up to 1 I have printed. But when 0 comes, it becomes false. So it has not executed this body. So thereafter it has printed this. So what happens if I try to keep this print done in the while loop only? Let us try to check what will happen. The thing is, it will print after every printing of I. Let us try to make you clear. See, after printing of every value, it has printed done. Right? So this is the difference what you will get. So that is the reason what I will do. Once after the loop execution is completed, I will try to make it clear that is done. So in this way, you have to use while loop. So mostly while loop is having initialization. You will have the condition, which condition that needs to be performed based on your requirement, as well as increment or decrement. So in this way, we will define while loop. Similarly, for loop. So it is very easy. For loop, you don't want to specify initialization, condition, increment or decrement. So whenever you use for loop with range function, it is very simple. Let us try to do some examples so that you can understand. So up to now we have printed, like printing the numbers in descending value and ascending value. Let us try to do the same by using for loop. How you can do? So let us try to make you clear. Before going to that, let me make you one point clear. So if we want to execute some action for every element in the sequence here, it is nothing but list, tuple, string or collection also, string also. Sequence, string is also nothing but a sequence which is enclosed in single or double quotes, right? Every element in the sequence, it is nothing but like it is string, or I can say list or tuple. You will try to understand this in the next class, don't worry. List. Similarly, dictionary, right? And similarly, set. These are different types of collections which you are having in Python. So if we want to execute some action for every element in the sequence, then we will go for loop. And another important point. So range function is used along with for loop. It is very important. Along with for loop. If you use range function along with for loop, you will avoid this initialization, specifying the condition, increment or decrement. All these are included in the for loop along with a range function. So let us try to make one example. Let me make for loop here. For loop. So let us try to give one example. What I am doing for I in range of 1, 11. So I want to print numbers from 1 to 10 as I have printed in using while loop. What I am doing, I want to print the numbers using for loop from 1 to 10. What I am doing, I am just specifying the for loop as well as the range function. In the range function, I have said you, like whenever I specify an end value, it will always consider up to end minus 1. End minus 1 means 11 minus 1. It will consider up to 10. So it will print all the values from 1 to 10. Let us try to see. Let us try to print of I. What I am doing, I am just executing one step, some action. What is the action here? It is nothing but a printing for each and every element in the sequence. So let us try to do. So if you can see, it has printed 1 to 10. The same, if you see, you will have to initialize and you have to specify the condition. You have to specify the increment in the while loop, but this is avoided in the for loop. Within this 2 steps, it is printed almost the same way which we see in the while loop. Similarly, let us try to print the even numbers. Let us try to see even numbers. So for I in range of this, we have seen 1, I have to print the even numbers from 20 for up to 20. All right. So what I will do, I will specify 21 here. So it will try to print up to 20, comma, with the increment of 2. So in the range function, we have seen before, if I specify the increment 2 here, what it will do, it will try to consider all the even numbers, right? So let us try to see here, from 0 I will specify here so that we can understand. If I specify 1 there, then it will go for odd numbers. I'm just printing any that even numbers. Let us try to see. If you can see, this is 1 to 10 numbers one, and from 0 onwards I'm printing even numbers. Similarly, if I want to print odd numbers, what I will specify, I'll just comment this. I will change the range, that's it. So simply if I can see, it will print odd numbers, right? Let us try to see. If you can see here, it has printed odd numbers just by changing the arguments in the range function without specifying any condition, initialization and declaration. It has printed what are the things which we want. And similarly, if I want to print the numbers in descending order, if I want to print numbers in descending order, so what I will do, I will specify the condition in the while range function only for I in a range of 10, 0, -1, right? If I want to print any values in the descending order, I will specify -1 here. This is the step. So what I will do, I will try to print I. Let us try to comment this. Let us try to execute. If you can see here, 10 to 1, it has printed in the descending order. So in this way, we can specify the condition in the range function itself. So we have to use range function along with for loop, so to avoid initialization, condition and increment as like in the while loop. So this is about iterative or looping statements. Very, very important, like it is like 100 stars. So in order to work with Python, definitely these are mandatory. Another important things, transfer or break statements. So these are nothing but not break statements, jumping statements. Transfer or jumping statements. So this is the third category which we are having in the control flow of Python. So in this we are having break. So let me try to discuss about the break as well as continue. Let me try to discuss one by one. You will understand better. So we can use break statement. So as the name itself says, break and continue. Whenever there is an execution is going on, suddenly you want to break. So that is the reason why you use break statement inside the loops. Always these transfer or jumping statements we will use inside the loops only, like break and continue. We can use break statements inside loops to break loop execution based on some condition. So based on some condition, if you want to come out of the loop or do nothing, then you will use break and continue. So this is about the break. Let us try to see about the continue. We can use continue statement to skip. So continue means do nothing, like to skip the current iteration and continue with next iteration. So it is very important. We can use continue statement to skip the current iteration and continue with next iteration. But based on these statements, you will understand nothing. Let me try to make you clear with an example. Right? Let me create one more Python file. Transfer statements. Transfer statements are also called as jumping statements. Very important. So let me do it for break right now. So I'm just using this break example right now here. So always break and continue is used inside the loops. So that is the reason why I am using for loop here, just for understanding. For I in range of 1, 10. What it will do? It will try to print, or it will try to give the sequence of numbers from 1 to 9, because 10 minus 1, it is 9. So what I'm doing, I'm checking one condition. Based on the condition, it has to break the loop, right? What is the condition here? If I is equal to 5, then it has to break. And it should not go and execute another set of statements. Let us try to see. So print of I And similarly, once it is completed, I have to get the message like print of program executed, right? Let me try to make this. So what I'm doing, based on some condition, I have to break this loop execution. What is the condition? This is the condition. If this condition matches, then what it will do, it will try to break the condition. Let us try to see one example. So for I in range of 10, 1 comma 10. So first value is I is equal to 1 here. It will come here, it will check 1 is equal to 5. It is false, so it will not execute this break statement. It will try to print. Similarly, 2, 3, 4. Once 5 comes here, what it will do, the 5 also comes here. 5 is equal to 5. It is true. It will try to break. It will not print from 5. Let us try to see. If you can see here, it has printed only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, as I have said you before, based on this condition, it has break the loop execution. It has to print 5, 6, and so on up to 9, but it has not done. Based on this condition, up to 5 only, it has break the program execution. Similarly, let us try to discuss about continue. So I will just use the same program just for your understanding. What I am doing, based on this condition, I should not do nothing. So it has to skip. So let us try to do it. It will print all the values from 1 to 9. It is just what it is saying. It is you just continue like that. It is saying. So if you can see here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there will be some areas where we can use break and continue, but it is very important to know break and continue. Or let me specify another condition. Suppose I is equal to 3, or there are multiple conditions. I is equal to 5, or I is equal to 7, like this. Let me try to execute this. So if you can see, it has printed the same. Based on these conditions, what it is doing, it is just skipping that values. So if I is equal to 3 or 5 or 7, what it is doing, it is just saying that you just continue, don't execute the next block. So like that, you can see here 1, 2, 3, 3 is skipped here, right? And similarly 5 is also skipped here, and similarly 7 is also skipped here. So in this way, once condition matches, it will come out of the loop, it will break the loop, right? If the condition matches, what it will do, it will not print the next statements. It will try to skip that iteration as I have specified in the jumping or transfer statements. It is very important to know about transfer statements as well as looping statements. All the things which I mentioned here, I have specified the same in the material. Don't worry, don't write anything, just try to listen the class. Similarly, working with numbers. We have seen already, but let us try to have some example. Working with numbers. So there are two things which I want to discuss here. Working with numbers. One is max function. So max function. So what it will do, max function returns maximum value of number. So if we specify a sequence of numbers, it will try to return as maximum value. So similarly, if I try to specify minimum, what it will do, it will try to return minimum value of a number. Let us try to see this with an example. Let me try to create one more Python file. Numbers.py. Fine, that will be fine. Let me try to define one number. Like number is equal to, suppose 100. Let me try to make this as number 1. Number 2, that is equal to 10.5. You just try to take like this. Let us try to print what are the types of those num1 and num2. Type of num1, similarly type of num2. Let us try to see. I'm just printing that. Yes, this is integer type and this is float type. All right. So let us try to see another important maximum function and minimum function. Let us try to use print of max of. I have to use maximum function here, like out of a sequence. In the sequence 30, 40, right? So I can see 30, 40, 50, 60. Let us try to define these things. That will be fine. You can specify n number of values here. So out of these numbers, I want only the maximum value. So what the maximum function will do, they have already written the function inside this max. So what it will do, it will try to take the arguments and it will try to check which is the maximum value. So we can try to do the same without using the maximum value right? So this is somewhat an important question. Just for your exercise, try without using max function. So for now, what I'm doing, I'm trying to use maximum function. What the maximum function will do? Returns maximum value in the sequence, right? Let us try to execute. If you can see, out of this sequence, 16 is the maximum value. So if I want the minimum value, I will use minimum function here. If I specify minimum function, then out of this sequence, 10 is the minimum value. So in this way, you will use maximum and minimum function. So let us try to see another example by using float values. Print of max of suppose 10.5 comma 20.5 comma 5.5. Let us try to see out of these float values what it will do. I want to print the maximum and minimum values. Let me try to print this. If you can see, 20.5 is the maximum value and 5.5 is the minimum value. So it is very important that how we can work with numbers, most probably by using maximum and minimum, and we can check what is the data type of that particular number. It is very important. And another important concept, string, working with strings. There are a lot more things to know about strings, but what is required for Python and what is required for automation, I'm going to discuss in this class. It is very important, like almost some 70 to 80% of the concepts are covered in this. So it is very important. Please listen it carefully. Working with strings. What is a string? Any sequence of characters, enclosed either in single quote or double quote is nothing but a string. Any sequence of characters enclosed either in single quote or double quote, it is nothing but a string. It is very important, very important. So let us try to understand the things with the help of examples so that you can understand them in a good way. So let me create one strings file here, Python file. So with this example, you will learn all the concepts. So creating strings, string variables, or I can say, let me comment this, how you can create a string variable. As I have said you before, anything which is enclosed either in double quotes or single quotes, right? So this is one string. This is another type of string. I am enclosing the same in single quotes. And if I want to do it with string function, I will use str of welcome, right? Str of welcome. I can mention that as a single quote, and I will specify the same with a double quote. So let me try to do it here. So if you can see, we can define a string by using any values or any characters enclosed in single or double quotes. And similarly, I can use string function. If I can use the string function, then in that case also, we will create a string variable. We can create a string variable. This is one kind of creation. If I want to create empty string variables, so creating empty string variables is very important. So what I will do, I will just to specify single double quotes as empty, and similarly single quotes as empty. Similarly, I will use string function without arguments, str of yes, like this. We can try to create an empty string variable by these methods, like empty double quotes, empty single quotes, and empty string function. So this is how we can create a string variable associated with any value, either in single quotes or double quotes, or we can create an empty string variable. Another important point. Once a string is created, it can't be modified. Can't be modified. So if it cannot be modified, it is immutable. Very important interview question. String is immutable. Once you define any value or once you define a string, Python has some memory. So what does the thing like that memory will have some ID. So what the Python will do, once you create a string, it will allocate some memory, and that memory will have some ID. So if you modify that string again, what it will do, the Python will try to create or assign another memory location, that ID will be different. So we can say that string is immutable. So it is very important. So because let me try to make it clear, because the memory address, I can say the memory address, I can say like it's like ID of the object will change once we update value, once we simply, I can say once we modify. If we modify the existing string or existing object, then ID, nothing but the memory address of Python will be changing here. So if the memory address is changing, then it is immutable. If it is changing, then it is mutable. There are two concepts, mutable and immutable. So if address changes, then it is immutable. If address does not changes, then it is mutable, right? So once we update the value, you will not understand this in the statement. Let me make you clear with one example. So let us try to take like immutable. Let us try to make you clear with this immutable. Let us try to define one string value, like I can say welcome, right? So let me try to print off its address. What is its address? Or nothing but memory address. Simply nothing but, if I want to know the memory address, what I will do, I will use ID function, right? String 1. What I'm doing, I'm modifying the same string with another value. Let me try to take, I'm just updating here. So what I'm doing, like str1 plus Python, welcome to Python. Suppose just I am printing like this, right? So I'm just printing what is the ID in this case again. So this is the string which I have already defined, and after defining what I have done, I have just modified or updated the same string. Then again I will check what is the memory address of that. So if you can see, this is the memory address of this one. This is the memory address or ID of this another string too. So I have specified the same string, but if you can see, upon updating, the ID value has been changed. So in this way, we can say that once ID or memory address of any object is changed, then it is immutable. Then it is immutable. Very, very important. Very, very important. Another important point. Plus operator. We can use plus operator for concatenating the strings. Concatenating strings. And similarly, we can use star operator for repeating the strings. So we will see this with an example. Concatenation and repetition. Concatenation, repetition. All right. So let me try to make you example. Make you clear. Let me take one variable here. This is string. That is welcome. So what I will do, I will try to concatenate with one value, like I can say like str plus programming. So if I can say here like welcome to programming. So what I'm doing, I'm just concatenating. This is str is one string and this is another string. I'm just combining two strings with plus operator. Let us try to see. Sorry, I have made some mistake. So unsupported operand type yes for plus type, and so if you can see, it has raised some error, unsupported operand. Oh, let me try to do this. Yes, just print. Okay, let me try to define it in here only. Let me try to make this here. Yeah, if you can see what you are doing, you are just combining two strings with the help of plus operator. So this is nothing but concatenation. Similarly, if I want to repeat the same string, suppose multiple times, what I will do, I will try to make use of repetition operator. What I'm doing, I'm just using the repetition operator. Just if I want to print, suppose 3 times, what I will do, I just try to comment this. I will use repetition operator, and how many number of times I want to repeat the same string, I will specify that value here. So if you can see, welcome, welcome, and welcome, it has printed some 3 times. Suppose if I want to print that as multiple times, let us try to see. Yes, it has printed 10 times. So in this way, you can use repetition operator. Repetition operator. Slicing strings. Slicing strings. So slice is nothing but a piece. what you will do, there is a string, you will try to cut or split that string. So it is very important. So let me try to make it here. It is another important concept, sizing strings. So if you can see, it is very important point. Very important concept. Try to listen. We can take a subset of a string from the original string by using slice operator. Slice operator. So what are the things I'm trying to make you clear? You will not understand this with the statements. I will make you clear with some examples. Don't worry. Subset of a string from original string by using slice operator. So what is the slice operator here? It is nothing but a square bracket which is enclosed on both sides. Similarly, what is the syntax for slicing? The syntax is, you will specify the string and you will specify the slicing operator, and inside the slicing operator, what you will do, you will try to specify start as well as end. Start as well as end. So similarly, another important point. So what slicing will do? Slicing returns a part of string starting from the index start to index end minus one. So end here it is. So what it will do, there is one string. Out of that string, I want only return a part or some part of that string. What I will do, I will specify start and end arguments here. So what it will do, it will try to consider the index as start, right? And similarly, index as end minus one. So by default, starting index is 0. Very important. By default, starting index is 0. Let me make you clear with another example. Suppose, let me take, this is one string, welcome. This is welcome. So let me make you clear what I am doing. Default starting index is 0. So this W is having the 0 index, and E is having 0 to 1, and this is 2, and this is 3, C is 3. Similarly, 0 is 4, and similarly M is 5, and similarly E is 6. So index is nothing but the position. It is at the W is at the 0th position. Suppose if I can say 0, it is at the 4th position. So this is the forward, like positive indexing. And similarly, if I want the negative indexing, what I will try to make it from -1. M is at -2, 0 is at -3. So C is at -4th index, L is at -5 index, E is at -6 index, W is at -7. So index is nothing but the position. Simply I can say index is nothing but the position. So by using positions, we can make some part of a string. That sliding operator will return part of a string. So before going to that, you should be aware of this some concept. Like by default, or any string will have the starting index is 0. Right? Suppose if I say like Python, this is one string. Suppose if I can say Python, I'm just writing it, giving some spaces, don't worry. So P is at 0th position. If I want to know what is the index position of T, 0, 1, 2. 2 is the index position of T. This is in the positive forward way. If I want to say that in the reverse way, what I will do, I will try to count this in the reverse order. Like T is at -3 position, -4 position, because N is at -1, 0 is at -2, H is at -3, T is at -4th position. This is positive indexing, this is negative indexing. Don't worry, you just try to understand this in a simple way. Let me make you clear with one example, right? Slicing operator. Let me take one example, string. Control C, let me pick it here, str. Let me make this as str variable. What I am doing, I want only some part, like in the str, I'll specify the start and end index. So I have to start from 1, I have to end at 3. So as I have said you before, it will start from start, okay? What are the value which I mentioned here? Nothing but the index actually. Start is nothing but the index, and end is also index. But end -1, it will consider, this slice operator will consider end -1. Suppose I have mentioned 3 here, it will consider 3 - 1, 2. If I mention 5 here, 5 - 1, it will only consider up to 4. So in this case, I have mentioned 3. So what it will do? It will start from 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is 3, but 3 minus 1, it is 2. Up to here only it will print. Let us try to see. It will only print it EL. You will be little confusing here at beginning. Don't worry. Upon practicing, you will get all the things. Similarly, I want to print up to 6. Up to 6. So what I'm doing by default, I have not mentioned start value here. By default, it will take 1 here. So from 1 to 6, nothing but 1 to 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will try to print ELCOM. Yes, WELCOM. Sorry, it will consider from 0, 0. Because if I didn't mention any value here, it will start from 0. So that is the reason why it also consider W here. Suppose if I want to print all the values starting from second index position. Second index position. If it doesn't mention any end value here, it will try to consider whole string from the starting index. If you can see, from 2 onwards, 0, 1, 2, it has printed all the characters. Similarly, if I want to print in the reverse order, what I will do, I will try to mention 1 and I will try to mention -1 here. If I want to print starting from 1, so this is 1 here. In the reverse order, what I will do, I will try to use -1 here. If you can see, reverse order, L correct? L come. So this is in the reverse order. And similarly, because last 1 character is removed, are removed starting from 1th index position. You will be a little bit confusing. Don't worry, you will understand upon practicing. Similarly, I have to print starting from 1 to, I have to remove last 2 characters. What I will do, I will try to mention -2 there. So Elco, it has removed last 2 characters. If you can see, these 2 characters have been removed. So in this way, you can try to use slice operator for getting a part of a string. Actually, this is the string, and in this string, you want only some part. Then, in this case, you will use slice operator. Similarly, other functions. Auth and char functions. Very important functions. Char functions, sorry. So let me make you clear with points. Like auth function returns the ASCII code of the character. Similarly, let me try to make it clear. Similarly, what char function will do? Returns the character represented by an ASCII number. So what auto function will do? Auto function will return ASCII code of the characters. What character function will do? Character function returns character represented by ASCII number. Let us try to see one example. Auth and char. Let me try to make this clear. Similarly, let me try to print. Suppose if I mention, suppose A, I want this ASCII character of ASCII number of A. I have to specify auth function here. In the auth function, I have to specify what is the value I can. Like this is A. I want the ASCII code, right? Let us try to print. So for A, the ASCII code is 65. Suppose if I want what is the character of the ASCII code. So let us try to use this char function. So I have some ASCII code. For that, I want the character. So what I will do, I will try to mention, suppose 35. Maybe I'm not sure whether it is there. So for the character 35 ASCII code, it is hash. So similarly, let me try to specify 65, which I seen for A. It is like A only. So in this way, you can use auth function as well as char function to return ASCII code of a character and to return the character based on ASCII code. It is very important in interviews. Try to understand. Length and max and minimum functions. It is very important. Length, max as well as minimum functions. Very important. Let me make you clear. So length function, these we have already, like max and minimum functions we have already seen during numbers. How we can apply the same to strings, and similarly how we can use the length function. Let me try to use this. You will understand in a better way. length maximum minimum functions. Let us try to define one string. Suppose I have defined one string as welcome. What I will do, I want to count how many characters are there in the string. For counting number of characters, I will use length function. Print of length of string. What it will do, it will try to print the length, how many characters are there, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So total 7 characters. So if I want to print maximum value, right, I will use max function as like in the strings, numbers. Print of maximum of string, print of similarly minimum of strings, right? So let us try to print. If you can see, W is the maximum value or maximum character and C is the maximum character. Here you will get one doubt. How Python compares strings? If number, that will be fine. Then how Python compares strings? Very important point. Let me try to make you clear. So I can say like based on ASCII value, Python compares, or I can say like returns max and minimum value. Very important point. Maybe you can have this in interviews, right? You can have this in interviews. So this is what I can say based on ASCII value. If the comparison is done, then it is nothing but lexicographically what I can say. ASCII value, based on ASCII value, if the comparison, nothing but comparison only we are doing. We are comparing all the values and we are just returning one value, right? So nothing but comparison process is done in maximum minimum functions.